Yeah, hi everyone. Just a quick warning, this is probably a long video. My videos are always long. I want to make them short, but then I don't, because I just do them off the cuff and I haven't got time to do editing. It takes forever to upload, so I just try and do the video, upload it, and then you guys can see it and make use of it if you want, or not if you don't want. Main point is it's long and I talk a lot. Nothing's scripted here. So I'm just going to talk about the Lumia 1020. This is actually a review of the phone, not of the camera. I'm going to have a separate second video with talk about the camera, because that's another entirely, it's a subject unto itself really. And it is also, I have to say, the reason why this is my second reboxing video of the Lumia 1020. And the second one I'm going to be returning, and I think this is going to be my last 1020. So if you don't want to hear anyone saying anything mean about the Lumia 1020, don't watch my second video. If you want to hear good stuff though, you can watch this first video, because it's really about the phone itself, with which I'm very happy, as the happy owner of a 920 sitting here, which is going to be my phone for the next for the foreseeable future again. I'm very happy with these devices. However, some people may have found this video because they're trying to decide whether or not to buy the 1020, and I thought I should actually say something about the phone itself for them, because it is a phone after all, not just a camera. Now, this has the GDR2 update, which was just released. It does not have the GDR3, which is available now for download if you for developers, and if you get one of those app development studio logins, you can get it as well. I haven't done that because I'm giving the phone back, so what's the point? However, the things about GDR2, for those who don't know, it's the update. Now, as you can see, I'm trying to tap the phone to life. It has double tap to wake, which a lot of people like, that feature. I've had it on the whole time. I'm used to it, so I'm always tapping it. But one problem I have with it is, well, several problems I have with it. Number one is you don't always get the right feel for it. It's got to be a certain touch and certain tap and speed and length and so on, and just to get it right. And so you pick it up and you go tap tap, and just as often as it works, it doesn't work. So, and then you tap tap again, and then I'm like, well, come on, I could have just turned the phone on and swiped it up like I always did. It's not as if the power button is hard to find on these Lumias. It's in a good spot. You don't have to do this reaching up to the top thing like other phones do, which is completely ridiculous. You just touch the side of the phone and it comes on. So that's not a problem anyway. But other phones have the button elsewhere. And so this idea, tap tap, see there again, I've had to do it twice. Not so great. Obviously, some people will be doing it differently. Maybe you've nailed it on your phone and you do it perfectly every time. I haven't. There it is off. Tap tap. Worked that time. The whole glance screen thing, where you put the time on there. That's nice. It's certainly a step along from the 920, which uses the LCD, so it's a lot dimmer, but surprisingly works. It's a lot brighter on this phone. I'm sorry I'm having to do this video in daytime, because I only have today to get this phone back to the shop, and then my right of return is over. So I have to do this now. So you're going to see a lot of reflections in this. Suffice it to say, this is actually quite bright, the time, and I use it. I look at the phone and I see the time. I've had it on the whole time. I haven't worried about the battery. It seems fine. It's the same as the 920, pretty much. Decent battery life. There are some other things on that screen, like if you've got the volume set to vibrate, I think it tells you there. It tells you that on there as well, with a little tiny vibration symbol. And I think they're planning other notifications, and there's also an app from Nokia where you can put pictures on this screen as well. I think it's all very interesting, quite fun. The thing I don't like, and I pointed this out in my last video, I think, was I really don't see the point of unlocking it and then having to swipe away. We're getting into this area where that I think Android suffers greatly from, where there's no single interface experience. It has endless layers of extra menus and extra screens, and the notifications and the application launch buttons, and everything gets lifted further and further up out of the interface because it's got all those layers. I just want to have like one interface. There it is. That's the interface. That's where I've organized everything. I want to get there as quick as possible. So I'd be quite happy if I tap, and then I was right there. This screen here is totally superfluous, this one here. It's just another place where you've got notifications and stuff. Well, when those are on the glance screen as well, you've got 3 layers of notifications, plus the apps themselves. So it gets a bit stupid. Not crazy about that. I mean, one of the things I really like about Windows Phone UI is it has a clear and obvious kind of strategy to it, and things like that do break it a bit. But it's fun, whatever. Just let us get rid of that swipe screen. I think we should be able to get rid of that. And to tell you what, the same exact point goes for Windows 8, Windows 8.1 on the desktop or on a tablet. Again, you turn it on, and then you've got the lock screen that you swipe out of the way, and then you've got the screen where you do your password, and then you're at the tiles. It's one screen too many, at least one screen too many. In fact, if those things had a nice, either a fingerprint reader or a button that was nice and recessed or something, you could go straight to the start screen on a Windows tablet. No need for lock screens and glance screens and all that other garbage. Anyway, I'll stop ranting about that, but that's my comment about this whole front end. Okay, don't really use this much at all. The only thing I do with that is I swipe it out of the way. I'll call it the swipe screen. Get it out of the way. If you're new to Windows Phone and you're trying to decide, a lot of people are asking, should I buy A, Windows Phone, B, a 1020? There's 2 questions here. Should I buy Windows Phone? B, should I buy a 1020? The answer about the 1020 is much more clear. If you want the 1020, or if you need the 1020, I think you already know that. It's not a question. If you're still questioning about it, then you don't really need it. If you would know why you need the camera on this device. You would know in advance if you should get this. So you should answer that question yourself already. There's no humming and hawing about it. So yeah, if you don't know whether you need the camera, you don't need the camera, and in that case, you'll be perfectly happy with the Lumia 920, the 928, and 925. Personally, I think the 925 is the nicest out of that lot, then the 920, and then the 928. Of course, coming up in a few days is the new, the next couple of Lumias are going to be launched. If one of them is this sort of size with the next generation hardware, the quad core and the 1080p screen and all that junk, great. Hang out for one of those. That could be real nice as well. Me personally, I'm already looking forward to whatever replaces the 1020 with this camera in future. Something will at some point. And it'll be, hopefully have some of the things fixed that I have problems with here. Okay, the other question was about Windows Phone 8. Should you buy a Windows Phone 8 device? Well, if you're new to smartphones, absolutely. No question about it. It's fantastic. There's an roughly equal experience across all 3 major operating systems now. I'm discounting BlackBerry because I wouldn't tell anyone to buy a BlackBerry at this point, but it's still available. It's just not looking good long term for them at this point. But in fact, include that in this as well. All 4 of these devices would give you a lot of fun, a lot of functionality. They all do your email. They all do your texting, your photos, your Facebooking, your whatever. They all do it. They differ in the details. They differ in the number of apps, so on and so forth. For me personally, I'm very happy with this operating system, and I'm perfectly happy with the speed that Microsoft updates it as well. I know that's the big meme of the moment, is that, oh, Microsoft's not updating it fast enough, or whatever. 3 updates in a year, Portico, GDR2, and GDR3. That's not too bad, all since Windows Phone 8, which is also this past year. So that's the operating system plus 3 updates. not bad. Not too shabby. Of course, I'd like to see more. We all would. Be nice to have lots of new stuff. But anyone involved in software development knows how hard and how long it takes. And personally, I think it's amazing they get as much done as they do. Any business I've ever worked in wouldn't get even one of these apps out, you know. Just how long everything takes. And so I think they're doing pretty well. Okay. So yes, you buy the 1020, you already know if you need that. If you don't, you can get a lesser Lumia. Windows Phone 8, sure. Go for it. It's a lot of fun, and you'll know straight off if you like this UI, you like the way it looks, the way it works. I love it. I think it's great. The idea, a lot of people miss things about it. You see a lot of Windows phones where people try and, if they've come from Apple, they just fill the entire screen up with these little tiny icons, like they're trying to turn it into an iPhone interface with just a grid of little tiny buttons. That's not what it's for. You've got to use this in a dynamic manner. You've got to pin stuff. If you're looking at stocks, you pin that particular stock to your screen. There's Nokia. If you're listening to some podcasts, you pin those ones to your screen. There, they get updated. It tells you when you've got a new episode. Goes straight to it. And then you can watch the show. Ta-da! Great. That's what it's for. If you're sick of watching that, you take that off your screen. You put it somewhere else, but I'm watching that, so I'm watching that. The albums you're listening to at the moment, you put them here on the screen. It's meant to be a dynamic place, not just a permanent fixed thing that you're trying to make into some kind of usable working thing. I keep the top half fairly fixed with things I like. The bottom half is dynamic with lots of stuff being, chopping and changing over time. That's pretty much how I like to use it. I group things together like my maps, my music and games. Keep my photos up there. And the stuff I use most day to day for work is here. For play, it's here. Work, play. That's pretty much how I do it. And then stuff. Work, play, stuff. But, of course, you're free to organize it however you want. So that's neat. And the next update, if you get the higher res phones, is going to allow for more tiles across the screen and that sort of thing. There's lots of cool things coming there. So that's about Windows Phone 8. I have done extensive reviews of this phone here, the Lumia 920, on my channel. Very extensive hours of reviews. So if you have a weekend with nothing to do but listen to me drone on, go back and watch some of those videos. I go into a lot of detail about the phone and the operating system and so on. And all of that applies to this. All of it applies to this phone equally. I mean, it's the same. These two phones are 99.9% the same in terms of software. They even, of course, have the same camera now, because this phone received the same camera as this one. So that's great, too. And it's a really nice camera, which I'll go into in the camera review video. Step back. In terms of performance, they're the same. I mean, this has an extra gig of memory, but that is really solely used to hold the image, for when it's processing the image or doing an R noise reduction or whatever it does when it saves the image. That's what it's using that memory for. It's not using it for anything else, because all the apps, they already run in 1 gigabyte or less. In fact, they run mostly in half a gigabyte. They don't need 2 gigabytes to run, and it doesn't speed them up if it has 2 gigs to run. Have I had any problems? When I first got the 1020, I had a lot of crashing. Just random reboots. That's what was happening. Just reset itself automatically. I'd be sitting here, and then all of a sudden, plonk, I'd see it was rebooting itself, and there's no reason. I couldn't figure out why. And also, a couple of times, the battery went flat very, very quickly. And I traced that. I said in a forum, oh no, I've got exactly the same apps on it as I have on here, which I've been using for a long time. And when I thought about it, I looked at my app list and I realized there wasn't. There was one app different, and that app was Podcast Lounge, which used to be I think it was the BBC app, iPlayer sort of app that someone made. I think it's the guy who, not sure, I can't remember, but BBC made him change the name. He changed it to Podcast Lounge, really nice podcast player, very similar to this Podcasts one that I do use. But it's got nice downloading in the background, and that was the clue. I thought about that, and I thought, I've got it set to download podcasts and update itself, and so it was doing that, and I thought to myself, well, that's something that's happening in the background every now and then, and that seemed to fit the rebooting that was going on. It would just sit there and all of a sudden reboot itself. So I uninstalled that, problem solved. Everything's perfect now. So now it behaves exactly like the 920. There's really no difference at all. Windows software, App Store, there's tons, so much there to play with and so much to fiddle around with. I mean, the breadth of apps is not there like you get on, iOS in particular. iOS has some very cool music creation apps, things like that haven't really hit Windows Phone yet. However, all the big stuff is really there. There's nothing that I'm sort of after that I desperately want, but I'm not a huge app user. I do a bit of social stuff. I do a lot of reading news. Now I use Bing News instead of a whole lot of different news readers. Still use Reddit for making it for Reddit. For Facebook, it's there. I hardly even launch it because I always use the built-in Windows Facebook, the People Hub, which if you're not familiar with Windows, again, look at my previous reviews, but I go into things like the People Hub, which I think are a great way to read what people are doing on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and whatever the hell. So I hardly ever launch that, but it's much improved, I understand. If you need Google Maps, Gmaps Pro is great. All the Nokia things are good. The point of interest data is still terrible in some places, like where I live. I mean, inevitably, I find something, and then I click and I look, and there's nothing there. There's never any information about things. I even put stuff in. Calibrate. Shake. There we go. So, for example, let's have it. Stamp and Go has been gone for a long time. Hazel is there. Let me just see if the one that I keep pointing out is not in here is still there. Most of these are gone. That's the same place. Yeah. And even then, if you go in to something, the Bay Plaza, that's a big place. I saw it had some stars. Let's see if there's anything there about it. It's rare that anything ever has stars. Oh, well, this never happens. But then this is a great big hotel out the window here, so... Oh, it's even got a photo. Actually, gosh, that's... Yeah, okay, that's over the road, provided by Expedia. So they've managed to data mine some info about a few of the bigger places here. That's great, but mostly I still find it's very weak in that regard, at least in this country. This is typical. So you get an address, maybe you get a phone number, category, and then nothing, and then nothing, and then the same stuff that you just saw on the list. So I don't find that all that great. But the mapping in general is really good, and especially the drive thing. It's just the points of interest. In some countries, they're not that great. They're probably concentrating on places like the States and so on and making it nice there. I don't know. Everything else, all the Nokia apps are great. You've got to get all those. I'll tell you the truth, I have only been using it. I did play once with Cinemagraph. I like Creative Studio, but I haven't been using it. I think it's a cool app. I haven't been using the panorama on this one. It's so-so. It's okay. Some people complain. You always see reviews and they say, oh, it makes you go further down and down and down as you taking the photo, even though I'm holding it totally straight. Well, no, it doesn't. If you're holding it totally straight, it doesn't make you go down and down. That's the thing that people don't understand. But the trouble is, you've got to hold it totally straight. So if you're going to do a panorama, set yourself up, point it at the horizon, keep the camera, try and keep it level. Use the grid lines that the camera app has, and then just run it back and forth a few times like that, and then start taking your picture clonk, 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 just to try and make sure you are dead even. Nothing else I really need to get into there. talked about a lot about apps and other things. Okay, the phone. Let me just talk about the hardware a bit more, because that is, of course, different from the former brick that a lot of people complained about. I quite liked the size of the 1020, and the question is how does this feel compared with, say, the 1020? As I was saying, I like the 1020. Never had any problem with its size. It feels really good in the hand. The 1020 does. That slight curve on the back means it's touching your hand all the way across your entire palm, and so you hold it like that, and you can really feel you're holding it. I like that. The weight feels quality, really nice. This one here, you pick it up, and it feels a lot thinner. It really feels thinner. It's flat on the back, apart from the hump up there. This chamfered edge down the bottom here, like that. Whereas on here they kept that sort of curve, which I'm not crazy about. On this one they did it like the Lumia 800 and the 900, where they kept so they could keep a parallel edges here. Chamfered that, and when you put it in your hand, it feels so thin and delicate. It sort of feels like you're going to drop it all the time, especially without a case on it. Not really sure what you can do about that. Obviously in a case it would feel more substantial. If I kept this, I'm not sure I would put it in a case or not. It's very hard wearing, the finish, even here on this metal piece. I mean, I've been extremely careful with this because I thought I might have to return it, but it is very hard wearing. The buttons are not matte anymore, are not glossy anymore like that. They're slightly different material, probably not as hard wearing, I doubt, as these ones were on the 920, but probably a little bit cheaper to make. The matte, it's neither here nor there. I thought the black gloss sort of looked nice here, and here the matte also looks nice, slightly different. Now, something about the case that is interesting. On the 800, which I haven't got here, one of the neat features of that design in the Nokia N9 was how the glass at the edges, the Gorilla Glass, was ground off to sort of curve into the body, and it would sort of curve off, and the body was sort of also curved to match it around the edges. The rounding all sort of matched it, and it sort of sat in there very, very nicely. It was very finely done. And you couldn't really see it in pictures, but when you held one up close in your hand, it was very clear, and it looked nice and precise, and it had a really nice design to it. Good look, had a precision look and feel to it. When they put out the 900, which was sort of a quickie phone they did just to get a big screen in the States for the launch there, the screen didn't have the curved edge, and it also had a plastic sort of a band around it, sort of an insert all the way around the edge, and it even stood up proud from the surface, and I thought that was pretty darn ugly, and it definitely was. So I was pleased when for the 920 it doesn't stand proud. It's still there, that little strip in there, and the glass is curved. Not as much as on the 800, but it still is curved. Doesn't quite go into the body nice and precisely, though, because of that plastic strip in there. It's like that plastic was perhaps there to allow the whole thing to have a bit of, to make up for manufacturing tolerances, imprecise manufacturing of the whole thing. And the 900, quite often you'll get one, and if you hold it in the right way, I'm just squeezing it now, I mean, this one squeaks. Not noisily, but it squeaks slightly, and I can feel give up there. There's looseness, and I can squeeze it together. And there's sort of a general slight sort of, it still feels tough, but there's a little bit of give around the place. Now, with the, so I sort of thought there was a bit of a compromise between the 900 and the 800. Quite decent, though. I mean, this idea of grinding off the edge of the glass, it serves no purpose other than for the appearance. And of course it makes the edge of the glass thin, which makes it more delicate, and so they have to sort of decide, are they going to make the glass thicker and then grind the edges off, or keep the glass the same thickness and grind the edges off and make it really, really thin and delicate along the edge. I don't know what they decide to do, but that's obviously part of the decision making. And so for the 1020, where they were obviously desperate to make it as thin as possible to stave off criticism from the bloggers, it has the very, very slightest amount of curvature on the edge. It's not, I mean, you can see it, but really it's a fraction of a millimeter. It's just nothing. Visually you can see it because, of course, straight edges reflecting in it will sort of bend at the edges, and you'll see it. But when you feel it, it's really nothing at all. In fact, I would say it's even slightly more on the bottom. Maybe it's more on the bottom and top than it is on these sides. When you feel it over here, it actually feels dead flat. And so that's, you know, probably a decision because of that. You know, it has to be strong, has to be thin. But of interest here is that it no longer has that plastic insert. You see, down the edge. It's all just precisely matched up. The glass fits the case perfectly. All the way around. You can't shove your fingernail in so easily like you could with this one here. I wouldn't even try because I don't want to. But it's precisely made, and the whole thing feels solid. There's no give anywhere. If you squeeze the phone, there's nothing gives. So overall it actually feels, it's lighter, more delicate feeling, but in fact it actually is a little bit more solid, I think, than the this one was. Of course, when you shake it, you get the sound of the you know, the autofocus, sorry, the OIS, optical image stabilization mechanism, making the noise. That's a bit disconcerting. You're always aware of it when you put the phone down. It sort of clatters. Yeah, whereas this one doesn't. This one just goes plonk and breaks the table. This one sort of clatters a bit, which is a bit weird. However, as they say in the literature, it's the sound of optical image stabilization. It's the sound of steady pictures, I think is what they said. So that's quite fun. Now, so much for the case here. Yeah, it's awkward to hold, no doubt about it. I like the placement of things. I'm still happy with that on top for now. Never liked the placement of the USB down the bottom, but what the hell, they have to do that. The lanyard strap is nice. You don't get it with the phone, you get it with the grip, apparently, so that doesn't arrive until you get a grip. And what about the case? I guess the question is, well, does this matter? Does this big, I hope this camera's focusing. I hope I'm not doing this whole video out of focus. Yeah, is whether or not this thing matters. Gosh, focus. Sorry, I've only just looked at my screen. I don't think so at all. I mean, it's so nicely done. You don't see it. You don't feel it. I say the rest of the phone feels more delicate just because of the way it is. It's not because of that. The only time, of course, it bugs you is, and it's also nice because you always know which side is top. You know, I'll put it in my pocket like that, down or up, and I always know which side is up, which is nice. You don't have to look at the phone or feel where the buttons are. You know which side is up just by touching the phone. Which is, I suppose, an interesting side effect of that. Righty, the other thing about the bump, obviously, of course, is putting it down. You know, if you're putting it down on a table, I think in my first little commentary video about during my first reboxing of my last 1020, I said I actually quite like that, having that where it's raised. You know, when you put it on a table, it's raised like that. I'm happy to have the raise, still happy to have the raise. However, this is what happens. When you're on a smooth table, you go like that and you put it down, and then, of course, you double tap to wake, quadruple tap to wake. That's the new term for it, okay? It's a quadruple tap to wake. You do that, and then you swipe upwards, and then that happens. See? The whole thing pivots like this. Now, if it was big and heavy, it would sit nice and stable because it's got this straight edge here, And you know, just because it's not straight there, that's fine. That's just like a little tripod it should sit. But in fact, it's quite top heavy, the camera, the phone. And so it actually pivots, as you can see, very easily right there. And so while you're trying to swipe it, you end up pivoting it all the time. So you end up either having to hold it or just be careful. I'm a lot more delicate. I mean, this phone, you know, you turn it on, move it up. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't move. It moves up and down. The whole phone moves up and down, as you can see, but I'm not pivoting it, and I'm really hitting it hard. If I did this one that hard, yeah, I mean, sorry, you can see what the deal is. So that's a bit of a pain. I guess different cases would be different. I've been keeping it whenever I sit down for a coffee, which is really the only time I'm putting it on a table to read. I've been in the habit of getting an extra, I get an extra little serviette for my phone now, and I do that. And so, again, partly because I'm giving it back, I need to keep it in perfect condition, and partly because I want to keep it in perfect condition. And so I've been doing that, and also so it doesn't slide around the table quite so much. But yeah, that's a bit of a problem with the case. However, as I was saying earlier on in this video, if you need this phone, you know you need this phone, and it's because of the camera. All these other issues are, you know, who cares? You're putting up with that because you want this camera, right? If you're not prepared to put up with those things, there's heaps of other phones to buy. But for the camera, we'll put up with all sorts. And the camera really is something special. However, you may be wondering, this is a reboxing, and so why am I reboxing it? And I will go into it in detail in the second video, but essentially the camera is just not up to scratch. And I don't want any dislikes on my videos because I'm saying the camera is not up to scratch. I know everyone wants to hear only good stuff in a video, and I've just been saying heaps of good stuff about it. In fact, I've said nothing bad, I don't think. It'd be nice if the wireless charging was built in. But the camera is not really up to scratch. So yeah, I won't go into that here, but that's why I'm giving this one back. It's the second one that I'm giving back. The people at the store have been very understanding and very good in the local telecom down here in Lambton Key. So very nice of them to put up with me twice now. However, the flaws are so apparent. I can show the people there right here on the screen. I went in during the week and I said, look at this, bang, there you go. And it's obvious to a non-professional, a non-photographer, you know, just someone sitting in a shop. It's pretty clear where the faults are. So, you know, the question then arises, is this particular phone faulty? Well, now I've had two of them. I can't keep getting more and more of them because that would be, you know, it's a waste of my time. I can't keep doing this. It's a waste of their time. They can't keep doing this. You know, do I take it up with Nokia? Well, Nokia here in this country are nowhere. You try and call them up, all you get is their call center in some other country. You can't talk to anyone, and then you go through this whole ridiculous, you know, process of returns, and you know, you can't just talk to someone smart who can actually tell you. And what I need to know from someone at Nokia is, well, what is the performance supposed to be? You know, should it be approximately like the old 808? You know, should it be sharp-ish across the entire field? You know, just how far out from the corners should it start to go bad? You know, I'm expecting certain flaws. You know, I don't expect a camera like this to be perfect, obviously. But I do have some expectations of it, and it's not meeting those at all. Not at all. Again, watch the next video for that. So, I have to wipe this thing now. So I think I will. How long have I been talking? 35 minutes. I'll just do my little backups here. Backup to SkyDrive, sync with SkyDrive. Even though it says it's done it there, I'm just doing it again. Okay, whatever. More options. Yeah. And that little export thing. I'm just going to hit the export as well. Okay, what else do I need to back up? I remember I did this last time. I got my photos. I've taken lots of photos on this and an 808 with a chap I met on the street. The first person who came up to me and saw that I was using a 1020 and he had an 808, so that was very interesting, and we met up again and took some photos today, just as comparisons that I'm going to use again in the upcoming video. One note, I don't need to back up. Well, this is the thing I like about Windows Phone 8. You know, I'm taking this phone back to the shop, so I'm getting rid of it. I'm going to reset it right now back to nothing. Do I need to back anything up? And there's very little I need to do. I don't have to worry about so much about the phone. I do need to worry about third-party apps, like that was my timesheet app. I need to worry about that because, of course, that's not in the Windows backup. I should go down here to the system settings. Somewhere in here is backup, save stuff to the cloud. Backup is on, but I'll just go backup now anyway. And now it's backing up the list of applications I'm using and my phone settings. So there we go. Let's have a look at advanced. You can delete, store it in the cloud. Nope, I want to leave them there. Text messages. Yep, whatever. Photos, they're all on the cloud, but I've also got them on my computer here. Nothing else there. I guess just for fun while we're here, let's have a look at the storage check, because I haven't looked at this since I first got the phone. Used 11 gig. I've had lots of photos on here and videos, but I've just taken them off and I just deleted them through the Windows file manager on my desktop. So I'll just have a look and see if that's done anything. So of 29 gigs, I've used 11, which is 7.2 gigs of media and files. Okay, let's see what it says. Temporary files, 177 megabytes. Other, 2.8 gigabytes. Other 2.8. That's high. I've never had it that high. Alright, that movie. I didn't even watch that. I'm going to wipe it now. Okay, so there's a couple of things I'm going to be losing, but whatever. That I'll have to re-download. Okay, well that's interesting. So there's quite a bit of that other storage thing going on there. Yeah. I won't bother trying to clear it. There's an app to clear it. Okay, nothing to worry about there. All the wallet settings, all your email, whatever, sits on the server anyway. Don't have to worry about my photos are uploaded to the server. Games, you lose your game settings, like your how far you were in certain games. It depends on the game, what you lose and what you don't lose. I don't care. Your music, that's synced on my desktop, so that should all come back afterwards. Oh, let me just back up this. This is the stock app that I use. I'm going to bore you with backing up my app while we all sit here. I wonder why I'm sending my phone back. App settings, backup, on, backup to SkyDrive, and away it goes. Okay, that's completed. So, I'm going to now go through the reset procedure, which happens through the settings under About, I think. Where is it? Under here. And reset your phone. Resetting your phone will erase all your content. Apps, downloaded, store factory settings. You want to continue. Do I want to continue? Do I want to give this up? It's been a long, hard decision, but I've done a lot of mucking around in the last month just trying to make this decision, and ultimately I shouldn't have to make this decision. The thing should just work. That's my view. It should just work as expected. I mean, my expectations are not that high, but I am expecting that the performance I get say in that area of the picture is roughly the same as I get, say, in that area of the picture. And my 920, as anyone watching my videos will know, has a flaw. My wife's 920 has the same flaw somewhere else in the picture. That's why I looked at this phone very carefully, and the first one just did not perform up to scratch. The second one, it's much better in most areas, but it's still pretty junky. So that's why I'm doing this right now. And away it goes. Now I hope I haven't forgotten to back something up that I do need. Everything's on Office, SkyDrive, OneNote. I think that's all okay. So that's goodbye to my Lumia 1020. Let me also pull the SIM out of it. I guess it's trying to fire it up with the SIM now, but plunk. Go away. Don't need that in there. And don't dislike this video if you, as I mentioned before, if you dislike me saying things about the phone. That's not what it's about. The likes are all about whether or not you want me to continue, and if you want me to detail what the reasons behind all this, I will do so. So if you are interested in staying in touch and you want to follow this saga, which will continue over the next years, do give me a like and subscribe, and I'll keep it going. I'm just going to, I'm not reviewing things here for profit or anything. These are phones I have, I own. It's stuff I use. No one's giving me these to review. If anyone wants to give me some to review, sure, I'll review it. But, this is stuff I want to use because I'm interested in photography and technology and so on, and I'm an information addict like many of you are, and that's of course why I'm into these devices. And so I'm going to keep this going. I'm giving up the 1020. I will probably jump back in the game with whatever phone replaces the 1020. I will then try. I know one of the upcoming new devices, next-gen devices, has a 20 megapixel camera. I'm hoping they will of course do this 41 megapixel one again with an improved camera, and certainly the rest of the hardware, the rest of the performance will be improved. I guess I should make a comment about the performance of the software, the speed. Regards to the camera, some reviewers complain about the picture-to-picture speed. It's slow. It's obviously slow. It takes a few seconds to go from shot to shot. It depends how dark it was, how much processing is going on. It varies. If I've spent, I do landscape photography mainly. It would definitely be hard to shoot a kid's party with this. Certainly repeat shots, trying to go snap, 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 snap. But that's not really how I take photos. I see the photo. A good photographer should, it's all about predicting the moment. It's not about just, shooting what's effectively video and then just running around afterwards trying to find a good photo in there. If you're into photography, you should strive to, predict the action. Your cameras, how they perform, and, the Bresson line about the decisive moment. Took all that into account. He wasn't talking about just, capturing it. He was talking about predicting it and then capturing it when it was going to happen, knowing it's going to happen. And as a street photographer especially, that's what you do. You know it's going to happen. Even if you're doing landscape, you're looking at the light in advance. You know what's coming up. You watch the clouds, and then you're ready when it happens. And that's part of the skill of photography, and I totally buy into that. And so a camera that takes a few seconds from 41 megapixel shot to the next really doesn't bug me at all. I had no trouble with the speed. I guess the worst bit is having people at a party like last night taking some party shots. And the low light ability is excellent, of course, just like the 920. It's really, really good. But you've got to tell people, oh, this is a long exposure now. When I start counting, don't move until I stop counting. And so I have to do that sort of thing too, because I don't like using the flash, which is really good if you like flash. That's a great flash. It's actually really good. Good coverage, for a little teeny thing like that built into something like this. It's actually really good. Okay, close there. So there we go. I've finished that. Reset the phone. I'm going to try and get it back into this thing somehow. So I'm going to clean it off carefully. Now this is obviously a bit boring, but it is a reboxing video, and this is the reboxing. So take that bit. Okay, all that back in place. I wonder how many reboxings they get back at the shops where someone does all this. So I expect most people just sort of, you know, tear the phone out of its case and throw all this away, and then that's the end of it. Of course, this second time around I knew I might be doing this again, so I was just a little bit more careful again. This thing here goes on the SIM card door. I'm not going to say anything else exciting after this, so if you've managed to get through this far and you're sick of it, it's okay. You're excused. You can go. I'm really just going to be going through the motions of the reboxing, because that's what I said I'd be doing. Okay. Yes. Okay, slide that in there. Very good. And good. Turn it off. There we go. That's really all there is to it. I've kept the whole thing, of course, I just undid this, didn't touch any of that. It's all as is, as it was. Didn't go in there. That stays there. This little tray goes there, and then that's really all there is to it. Put it back in the box. And we're done. Very sorry to see this thing go. I was looking forward to that for a long, long time, as many of you who either have purchased or are going to purchase one of these have. You've waited a long time. And so it's sad to have to give it back, but you know, I can wait a bit longer, and I'll definitely be looking at the next one to see if that's up to scratch. I would, you know, if I could go into a shop and just try some of these out, you know, it's because they vary. It's possible that one might find one that actually is good. Many of you people who already own them, I don't want to say that yours are bad. You know, if you watch my next video, maybe you'll find out. You'll spot whether yours are bad or not, and whether you care about it or not. You know, most reviewers haven't said anything about they're all blown away by the performance, and that's the end of it. Or they look at the wrong things. They're obsessed with noise or white balance, which really are not so relevant in this. And so it doesn't mean your phone is bad, that I'm giving this back, but it does mean that this phone is bad and the one before it is bad. Okay, well, I'm going to leave it there. That's 50 minutes nearly. So thank you for sitting all the way through this, and I'll try and get my next video out very, very soon. Got all the photos sitting here waiting. Just got to sit down and try and organize them into something that makes sense, because it's going to be a lot of pixel peering on video, which is not really that easy to do. Okay, well, thanks again. Catch you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Cool. Bye-bye.